this perception we have about we find stability in like a job or a location or a house or a relationship, when I now have come out the other side of, you know, always trying to do all this work, and I've just sort of dropped all of it and just gone, you know what, there's actually nothing wrong with me. I'm where I'm meant to be, and I've just stepped into living my life every day instead of constant trying to fix mode. So that's been...
Wild Rose! Wild Rose!
Let's kick it off.
Okay.
Kick it off, Paula.
Do you want me to? Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome. Okay. Just don't interrupt me while I'm trying to do the intro.
Don't be so rude.
All right. Let's start this again. Welcome to this week's episode on the Wild Rose, conversations about how we don't do stuff normal. We have Amy here with us. And before we get into all of the things that Amy is, let's start off with hashtag awkward question time, because we find this is a really great way to bond, learn some things about each other, have a laugh, and ease on into the conversation. So, Amy, our question for you today is, what? I need my microphone close to ask this. What is your guilty pleasure song?
Oh, Jesus.
Like, it's so bad, it's so good.
It's so bad, it's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you... Okay, this is really, like, really old. If you guys have heard it, because it's not like actually like a song that was on mainstream. I don't think it was. I don't know. I have an older sister, so when I was little, she had the single, and it was actually like Pauline Hanson, you know, the chick in the government.
Yeah.
Like somebody made a song, I guess it's like a bit of a parody song of her voice, and it was just like, I don't like it, how you did it.
I remember that. Yes.
It's like a song from my childhood I remember hearing, and I didn't understand it when I was like 7.
Oh, that's so funny.
That weird single my sister and her friends are laughing at. And yeah, that was it. That's the first thing that came to my head. Like, I probably have more, but yeah, that was the first thing, because it literally is so fucking bad.
It is. It is.
I don't like it.
Got some radio time.
Yes.
Big time.
You know, being that young, I don't even know. I actually still have the single. My sister gave it to me. I own that. I probably have it right here somewhere, actually.
That is hilarious.
I could probably show you. Here it is.
It's such a random thing.
It's so funny because I actually have drawn on it, and it's got fat eyebrows drawn on it and an owl on her head.
Oh my goodness.
That is amazing.
That was when I was like a teenager. So funny.
You have to send us a photo of that.
Yes, I will.
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny.
Shona.
Oh my god.
Guilty pleasure song. Song
I've
so
been
bad,
really
it's so good. I know you're a tragic at heart.
I am a tragic at heart. Okay, I've got it. I can't think of the name of the song. You might be able to remember. It's Billy Ocean. Do you guys even know who Billy Ocean is?
Get out of my dreams.
Yeah, him, right?
But
he sings
my car.
It's a different song.
That's the only one I think I know.
I'll come back to it. I'll remember it through the
sing it.
This is no, because I can't I've been listening to it. I listen to these sorts of songs when I'm cleaning my house. So I put my sneakers on, my earphones in, and I listen to these crazy songs. Are you looking it up for me? Because I can't find it.
I am, because I'm very interested.
It will come to me in a second. I only listened to it like a week ago.
Is it Caribbean Queen?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I need to play it. I won't put this on the episode because it will like get
yeah.
But... that is my new favorite song. It's so good. Okay, I'm gonna tap on download and add to playlist.
Now I'm hot because that's.
Now,
That
Paul,
is a great song.
oh,
Oh my gosh. Okay, so mine's not any better. Oh my god, that was amazing. So the one so my favorite guilty pleasure song is also from that same era around the 80s.
Yeah.
Some Like It Hot. How good is that song? Some like it hot and some sweat when the heat is on.
oh,
It's such a good song, but it's so bad.
Oh man, Amy's like, you're probably little. Were you born? No, probably not.
no, I'm a 90s girl.
90s girl, yeah.
Mm,
Wow, so we just went vintage on your ass.
yeah, I know these songs. And because my parents were big music listeners, you know, like I didn't grow up around a lot of music. Like I didn't even really know, this is embarrassing. I didn't even really know who like Motley Crue was until I met my ex-husband.
What?
Wow.
Because I just not ever been around like people into music, and because I was born after that, and then it was sort of by the time I was around music and my friends when we were teenagers, it was the 2000s.
Oh
yeah,
wow.
the 2000s.
Yeah, Ace of Base. That's who I remember, the 2000s. It's like that gives me chills.
Yeah.
I'm scarred.
Remember like all the bands with like their matching trucky dacks and stuff.
Oh yeah, it was such a thing, wasn't it? The matching like zip up jacket with the pants, the Adidas.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah.
But it was so bad.
Era. So I feel like I miss the good old like rock and roll and all that nostalgic music a lot of people I know listen to, but oh well.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because my dad was a big collector of records, and like I used to always get him to put records on, and my favorite ones that I had of his was the Beatles and Led Zeppelin, and I'd always get him to put them on. And then when I was a bit older and in high school, I found a friend who was really into like Van Morrison and Led Zeppelin, and like I was like, yeah, I grew up listening to this music. So it does actually, when you grow up listening to music, it's really cool how you can, like, you know, a different era to when you were born, and you feel it like it's such a part of your childhood, but you weren't even born then.
Yeah. It's cool, isn't it? Led Zeppelin just had their 50th anniversary. Like just now, it's like, yeah, it's a band.
Wow.
You know, our kids listen to them. It's nuts.
That's so cool.
It's very cool.
So yes, now I'm versed because, you know, YouTube and other people have been around, but yeah, before that I wasn't didn't know many songs.
Oh wow. I find it
That's
so
cool.
Fascinating. Like,
so do I.
We're all here on planet Earth as human beings, but we have very different experiences in life. Like, it just blows my mind sometimes. It's so
yeah. Like Paula will say to me, have you seen this movie? Oh, what about the line from this movie? I'm like, no.
Sean doesn't do movies, but I do.
I don't do movies. It's so funny.
Yeah. And even like my son, we went into a supermarket yesterday and my son had like this mask on, you know, he got from the reject shop or whatever. I don't know what character it was. It's out of Star Wars, and I don't do Star Wars. And the lady at the checkout's like, who's that? And I'm like, I don't know. And I said, I think from Star Wars. She's like, oh, I don't do Star Wars. You know, I don't know any of the characters or anything. And some people find that so fascinating because it's such a big movie, you know, thing to not know Star Wars and the characters. And then she's like, oh, I'm a horror girl. You know, I was always a horror girl. And I was like, I wouldn't even know the name of a horror film.
I've never watched an episode, and I'm actually not going to ever. I've decided.
Of Star Wars?
Yep.
Oh, my husband is the biggest Star Wars nerd. It's probably not the biggest, but he loves the Star Wars, and he has since he was a kid. And so as a really, you know, supportive wife and girlfriend, whenever a Star Wars movie would come out, I'm like, yeah, I'll go watch it with you. And it was just until recently there was I don't know, something on Netflix or whatever, and he was trying to get the kids to watch it, and they're like, Dad, this is so boring. And I'm like, don't say that about Star Wars around your dad. Like, don't. Like, you break his heart. But they're like, Mum, do you watch Star Wars? And I said, yeah, I've seen some of the Star Wars. And they're like, which one's your favorite? And I'm like, to be honest, they all seem like the same movie to me. I don't understand the difference between them.
I can imagine. Unreal. We can talk about movies and music all day, but what we really want to talk about is you, Amy, and what you bring to the world. Want to tell us a bit about trauma, which we absolutely feel like there's a lot to learn, and we're really keen to listen to your story.
It's a very, very wild road, and it continues to be a wild road. So think back about 5 years ago, I'm happily married with my 2 kids. You know, life's pretty good. Life's pretty on track to what we thought our lives were going to be. You know, I'd had a lot of stuff before that. Me and my husband had been through a lot of stuff in our early part of our relationship and things like that we sort of worked on, and well, I thought were resolved but weren't. So we're just living this life, you know. It's pretty boring. I'm home with the kids, he's working, living in a little house, trying to, you know, do an Australian slog, trying to save up to, you know, buy a house and do all the things that everyone does, you know, and try and be the best parents, you know, for your kids. Yeah, it was pretty boring. Like, I was at home just all the time, pretty down and like lost and just like, oh, is this my life sort of thing, but still happy and content, but still just like a little bit like, is this it, you know? Do you know that feeling of like,
yeah,
nothing really wrong
totally
in the big scheme of it, like my life's pretty amazing, but still I'm just not really that content, which I think a lot of like young and new mums probably feel. So yeah, fast forward, my relationship in my marriage just really started to change, and I found just myself being really unhappy and being in situations where I was often sleeping on the couch because I was getting abused and things like that, and sometimes over really ridiculous things. And I was just so it was just so like, where has this fucking come from? Like, I was so confused.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand what was happening, because I was like, okay, I don't usually get treated like this. I don't know what's going on. And it to be honest, it wasn't, to how bad it got at the start, that wasn't that bad, but still to me it was enough for my body to be like, doesn't feel right, doesn't feel good. Like, I didn't feel safe, I didn't feel like this was what I wanted. So I originally was just like, you know, I'm not doing this, I'm not having our kids in this house with this feeling. So I decided to go and stay with my mum, and I had at that point I didn't have any clue of what I was doing moving forward, if my marriage was actually going to end fully, or if we were going to work on it, and if, you know, what was going to happen. But just all I knew was I couldn't stay in that house at that time. You know, I was getting threatened, and it just didn't feel good for me. So I was like, okay, time out here.
Yeah.
I'm out for everybody's, you know, well-being, pretty much, because I was just becoming really miserable. And at the time also, I lived, you know, like quite a few hours away from most of my friends and my family, because we decided to move closer to the beach, because I love the beach. Like, my soul just loves the beach. And so, you know, I thought that was a good move. But then when shit started going sort of down, I was like, felt really isolated, because I didn't know anyone. You know, the old story, like, don't know anyone, just sit at home, sort of things like that. So my daughter was a toddler and my son wasn't even 1 when I left. So it was like, my kids were young, you know, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And again, you know, the whole like having kids at home and stuff, I was just in a down place where I didn't put myself out there in the new community where we lived. I just stayed home and just did mum things. So yeah, I went to stay with my mum, and I thought that was, you know, the right thing to do at the time. Actually, I still think it was the right thing to do, and I thought that would be good for us. I thought it would be a good move to have some space and to reflect and deal with some underlying issues that were obviously still there. It just got worse. It got so bad. When I say it just got worse, so the abuse got worse, the abuse escalated to a lot worse, like a bigger threats and a lot more frequently, and the harassment and the constant of just not being left alone. So I'm talking
emotional abuse.
Yeah, so I'm talking like all day being hassled.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not even break for
Yeah.
months and months and months. And we weren't even together, you know, and we were living separated. So that when you think about, you know, you're living on your own, I was living in my mum's house, to have someone harassing you like every day when you're just trying to parent 2 little kids every day, it was a lot to take on. I basically wasn't even really living a life at all because I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was trying to do the whole, like, you can stop in and see the kids whenever you want, because I wanted it to be really amicable separation. I really had this idea in my head that it would be all good and would be able to just go our separate ways, and he could just drop in whenever he wanted and have the kids whenever he wanted, and it was all going to be good and we're going to have this beautiful relationship. And it was completely opposite.
They can't do that.
So anyway, yeah, so escalated. I actually did go back for a really short amount of time. And when I say short amount of time, I probably mean about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Until I just finally definitely knew, because it was all the niceness. And then again, just ended up being really horrible. And I just went, nah, I obviously, like, the chain obviously hasn't broken. So yeah, I made a decision and I finally called it, like, finally for good, quits. And I knew it in myself, you know, when we make these decisions sometimes, like, yeah, I think I've made the decision. But then you actually don't really know. You're like, yeah, I have. But then you don't really.
So the doubt creeps in.
Yeah, but this time I was like, nah, it's definitely done, because there was a fair few things after that happened that I was just like, yeah, nah, I'm not okay with that at all. You know, the deal breakers. So then I continue to house sort of hop and not have a house and all the difficulties that come, and I couldn't get a rental and all these things, and I ended up buying a caravan in a caravan park. At the time, that's all I had. And we lived in this all humble caravan with an annex and stuff like that. And I actually really liked it. I didn't mind it. I thought it
freedom.
was a beautiful spot. Yeah, it was just this beautiful spot. And we were on the caravan park, was at the, like, my caravan was at the big end of it. Like, I was the last one, and I overlooked like all farms and paddocks and hills.
Oh, wow.
So my decking off my annex was just this outlook of farms and mountains. I didn't even feel like I was in a caravan park, you know. It was just such a beautiful spot. And in my mind, you know, I had this plan of, I'm going to stay here and we're going to, you know, then now I'm going to save and I'm going to buy my own plot of land, and we're going to take this caravan and we're going to take it to our own little space, and I'm going to make our own little sanctuary for me and the kids. This was my plan. My plan seemed to never work out, because then it's just everything kept getting worse and worse with him and not leaving me alone, and it was so hectic. So I'm just going to touch on it so briefly. Like, there was intervention orders, there was police constantly involved, there was lawyers involved, there was all these things involved, family and everything. It was the most hectic time of my life, and yeah, it's really big. Yeah, unfortunately, one day we came home from showering, because my caravan didn't have a shower, so you used to have to take the kids up to, like, lock and do all that. And anyway, I came home and he was inside my caravan, and, you know, yeah, with the kids, like, I was like, I felt like something was off that day, and I was like, something just really, like, I just had this really weird feeling. So, like, I went really, so at this stage, if for anybody that knows that's been in similar situations, you are always on edge every minute of your day. You're, like, looking over your shoulder, you're constantly checking your phone to make sure, like, no one's, like, threatening you, or, you know, like it's just the state of hypervigilance is just next level. If you haven't been, don't get it. Like, literally just peaking, like, it's like you're on drugs, like you're like all the time. So I was already, like, always super, super sensitive to, like, a noise or a change or a movement and energy, like, just everywhere. I was just like, oh. So I felt just something off that day. I just was like, oh, something feels weird. So I was just being really cautious anyway. So then that ended up happening, and it was a really traumatic day for me. Yeah, so obviously he wasn't there to have a nice chat or anything like that. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
So my son was in the pram, and I sort of turned it away, so he would have heard the whole thing. And again, he was only just over 1, so it's really young, but he didn't see anything. But my daughter did, and she was 4 at the time, which was really horrible. And she had a lot of trauma to work through, and I think she still does, you know. Of things sometimes now, and she's nearly 8. the police finally arrived, which felt like they took like 2 hours to get there, but apparently someone told me that they only took like 10 minutes to get there. So
yeah, mate.
because I was sort of, you know, being assaulted and all these things, and yeah, it felt like a really long time.
Oh,
Then my daughter, because she was like sort of old enough to know her dad, he was sort of trying to coax us to come back inside the caravan, and I was like, no, I'm not coming inside, because I just had this feeling, you know, of like, if I step into that room, like, I think we're fucked.
yeah.
You know, like staying on the veranda, but he had our daughter, you know, come here, darling, and come sit with me. And I was like, this moment of like, oh, how am I going to do this? And I just, you know, so I was pleading, I was saying whatever he wanted to hear. He was saying, you know, I can't live without you, all, and blah, blah. So I was just like, let's get back together. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to support you. I'm going to help you. I was just doing whatever I could to time, basically. No, like, no, I am not. And I'm like standing there looking dead into the person that's just beat the crap out of me, into his eyes, saying, I'm here for you. We are going to work it out. It's going to be okay. Because I had nothing else in that moment that I felt I could do. I felt
trying to save your life.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know what to do right now. And this is just all that like came out. Even like in the kerfuffle of the fight, it was like, you know, like there was a knife present that fell out and stuff, and that I'd like piffed out into the paddock, just like instincts again, like, fuck, oh my God. Threw it as far as I could. And then he had our son, he grabbed him out of the pram, and also, so he had basically had the kids and was trying to get me to come in too, and I was just like, whatever. So then the police arrived, and I was just like, as soon as I saw the lights coming and flashing, I was just like, oh, it's gonna be okay.
Yes.
Gonna be okay. And they talked him down very well, and, you know, got my son, and I just like grabbed him, and actually there was some neighbors that come up, so I missed a bit. So there'd been some neighbors come up, and we sort of ended up coaxing my daughter out of the caravan. And some of my neighbors took her, because my neighbors were really super, super lovely, and they knew in short my story, just that I said, you know, can you guys, I didn't ever go into any detail, but I just said, can you guys look out for me and my kids, and if there's anything, you know, sus going on around the place, just let me know. So they came and sort of took my daughter, and then yeah, I had my son, and then the first thing, I didn't even care what he was doing. I didn't care what they were doing with him. I just like grabbed my son and like ran to where my daughter was to see if she was okay. And it was just so beautiful, you know, she's in this lady's caravan and she's drinking Milo, watching cartoons, and I was just like, oh, you know, what a beautiful person, you know, this person was. And so we sat there and drank Milo and all the things, and my sister came and helped me and took the kids, because then I had to go to the police station and do this stuff, and then I had to go to the hospital and get checked over and stuff, because I was, you know, had concussions and things. And anyway, so it was a really big thing. And then from that incident itself, I then had to relocate, unfortunately. So I didn't want to, but I sort of got put under, I feel like I was really bullied and put under a lot of pressure to move from systems that fail women time and time again, which really pisses me off still to this day. So basically, you know, the systems come in and then they do all these interviews with me. They interviewing my 4-year-old daughter, asking questions about me and my parenting, which I was very sort of triggered by at the time, because I'm like, I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Like, this is not on me. And so yeah, so we had this meeting one time. They came to my place and had a meeting, and basically to put in kinder terms, you know, if you don't move and relocate your children, we will keep a file open on you. So on me.
Wow.
Doing your best.
Yeah.
In this, like,
it just is absolutely madness, because now you're flipping it around on me, guilt tripping and making me feel bad when all I have. So basically, I feel like they didn't say in the words of these exact words, but this is what I took from it, is that if I didn't want to move, that was me not protecting my children. You know, the vibe instead of how can we assist you to help feel good, whatever. And, you know, knowing that my husband, ex-husband, like he was in police custody, he was in prison, he wasn't around. So like, why couldn't we stay?
That's right.
You know, like, why couldn't we stay until maybe,
wow, man.
you know, whatever. But so it was what it was. I think looking back, if I was like, I'm so much stronger now, and if like now me, I would be like,
yeah, exactly, just showing the birds.
But back then, in such a bad way, mentally, that I just was like, okay, whoa, you know, it was just so full on, and it happened all so fast, you know,
because of the constant abuse and the constant having to be in that heightened aware state. Like, you're not thinking clearly, you're not responding like a person who is in control of their thoughts and feelings and emotions, and they're actually able to make rational decisions from their brain, because you've disconnected from that part of your brain. You're in like survival mode.
Yeah,
completely. And the biggest thing, you know, that throughout all of it, looking back, was how disconnected I was from my gut and my motherly intuition, and that's what I needed the most.
Yeah
Been the most beneficial thing to me, but all the systems and all the experts and all the people that I had to go through was sort of calling the shots and stripping that away from me, which was really, you know, a time when you should feel like you're being empowered. You actually a lot of the time get disempowered, because this is the way that we do things here.
It breaks your humanness down and builds up a system, but your humanness gets broken down. Your intuition, your instinct as a mother gets broken down.
Yeah, it'd be so interesting to know the people that have put these systems together and how it is right now. How many of those people who make these decisions have actually been in this situation themselves? Because they're looking at it from the outside and going, oh, from the outside, it appears this way and it looks like this way. This is how we're going to solve the problem, instead of actually being from somebody who has been within that and gone, that's not what it looks like from where the person is standing that is inside of this.
I wonder how much work has been done as well. Like, you know, it's textbook stuff, you know, what they've learned doing a degree in this, in sociology or whatever it is, to build this system, to be a part of this system, and all of the system is like lots of moving parts. But is there growth and expansion? Are they learning more by seeing what's going on, interviewing these victims? Because I'm just blown away from 2 minutes ago that you guys had to move. Not him.
But that's more convenient for the police or for the system or whatever. If you relocate, we'll know that you're probably safer, and we don't have to make sure that you're safe where you actually, like, where your home is.
Yeah, basically, I feel like it's just passing. Like, so it was also intense, you know. I had caseworkers and case managers for all these things, and I didn't ask for them. They were just like acquitted to me, basically. Like, here's your person, here's your thing, which I am, because I worked with some really beautiful women and ladies that really did help me. And I think a lot of women do go into these jobs and roles as well because they have been through it themselves. But like you said, Shona, it's so textbook, and there's so many rules and regulations and so much paperwork and so many, you know, crossing the, dotting the, whatever that saying is. and like, nice. They've got so many rules that they have to follow that necessarily they might not really agree with either, or they might not see to be the right way or whatever, but it is a system. It's like everything that we, you know, go through with school or this or that or the legal system or anything. There are things that they have to do in certain ways, I guess, that it's not the individual calling the shots at the end of the day, but
and emotions taken out.
Like, side note, is that I always feel like when I'm in these situations, you know, people will say, well, it's not up to the individual and stuff. It's like, well, if if people really want to make changes in things or in places, like, and it doesn't align, you either don't do that role because it doesn't really, you're not doing what that role is not fulfilling you with what you actually started the role in the first place to do, is it? Like,
no, that's it.
Or, shake it up and change the rules, break the rules. I don't know, go into the belly of the beast type of thing, and just shake some shit up and change it, because a lot of it doesn't work, and it's not right, but it's the way it is. And it's still, I've moved a lot. After sort of that all happened, the way I saw my life moving forward was that I was like going to be super involved in this space, and I was going to be making all these changes in this space and stuff. But I actually went really away from that, which I found really interesting. So fast forward, so I moved house. I got housed in a different area, which now you might even find this even funnier, because they wanted to house me so quickly because I was in the toppest range of danger, right? I'm highest risk, flight risk, I was housed 45 minutes away from my caravan.
What? That doesn't even make sense.
Doesn't, does it? But it's just because there was a procedure, there was a role that had to be done, like we have to get this person housed, not in the same shire. Basically, it was just the next shire over, I felt like.
Next door.
Yeah, basically. And I was like, okay, like I took the house because I actually didn't care that because then I was still closer to my family and stuff as well. Like I still was closer to my supports and that. I wasn't too far away for the kids from their grandparents and all this. So it's just like, oh, whatever. I just sort of went along with it, and we lived there for a couple of years. And I knew that obviously it wasn't going to be my forever, sort of home or where I was going to end up, because I didn't actively choose at that moment of, like I did, like I said yes to the house. Obviously I went and looked at the house and said, yeah, sure, whatever. But I knew like that wasn't going to be where we were going to be, because it wasn't the area.
It's not the chapter.
Yeah, it wasn't the thing, I don't know. But now looking back as well, like it was a really great time. We had a really good time in that house, and it was a really nice, I made it a really nice home, it was a really nice, it was like the thing that we just sort of grounded our feet so we could really lift off, if that makes sense. Like it was like the
beautiful
being that really grounded, because I'm like, my spirit's so nomadic. I've moved like 19 times in my life, and I just feel like I'm constantly moving. But when I was told, I didn't want to. Like, don't tell me.
Don't tell me to move.
Area and when and how it's all going down. Like, I want to be making those decisions. So that all happened. It was all horrible, and it was all like life consuming. And actually, even after the fact, probably I would say for about another 6 to 12 months after that day, it was still pretty consuming, just with lawyers and cases, and like I had to finalize my divorce and go to the city all the time to see all these appointments and these programs, and I sort of was exiting this whole system was just as hectic as being in it. So then I sort of, all of a sudden I just threw myself into everything I could throw myself into, because I felt so fucked up. I was like, everything's wrong with me. I'm not coping. I'm just a fucking like lunatic, basically. I just felt like I was just the biggest lost soul of the planet. I was, constantly yelling at my kids and just like crying all the time, and just so many big emotions, so much guilt, so much grieving of, everything that just happened, and just having to like catch my breath. And for a while I didn't let myself catch the breath, because I'm like, I'm going to like 3 different counseling therapists, and this specialist, like this sexual abuse specialist, and this family violence unit, and this fucking thing, and like there was so many things. And then I was even plunging myself into further like alternative. Then I started going down the route of like seeking alternative modalities like kinesiology and like naturopaths and just all, and coaching and mentoring and throwing myself trying to work in my business when I had no fucking idea what I wanted to do anymore. So I was actually a resume writer originally. So, and I was doing that still. So still throughout all of this, I was still doing that. I think I took about 6 months break away from my business when it was really in the crux of it. But, and again, if anyone's been in those situations still to run a home-based business, yeah, it was really hard.
Yeah, that's just, it's huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Because you're running on depleted energy as well. Like your nervous system is shot. It's like you come down from adrenaline and there's days of sleep. And when you've got little kids and you're trying to run a business, there's no time for sleep, but that's all you want to do. It's almost like you want to cocoon into the bed and stay there for the week, thinking that's what's going to fix you. But you come out of that week, you probably slept, 3/4 of the week and you're still no better for it. You're just shot.
Yeah, completely. And also on top of that, my son had really bad eczema for the first, he didn't sleep through the night till he was 4. So also on top of all of that, mental load and exhaustion, I was just physically exhausted from the trauma response as well, but also physically exhausted because my son would wake up 4 or 5 times a night still when he was still 3, and I'm like, come on. Give me a break.
Yeah, eczema.
He's not a newborn anymore. Can't we just pass this shit? But yeah. No, thank God he's nearly 5. Now he finally does.
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness.
So good. But I do, my kids usually bunk in with me most nights, to be honest. So I still don't sleep that well. A foot in my back, or I don't know. But yeah, I actually like that we sleep together still. Some people think it's weird and they're getting a bit big, and I'm just well, they want to, so I don't care.
There's a time when they don't want to anymore. My son, because after our breakup, he slept with me just for that comfort and security because they've gone through a lot, and he slept with me in the weeks that he was with me up until he was 15. And then and it was just even I was kind of thinking, oh wow, this is, when's he going to grow out of this? Do I have to see someone for it? Do we have to do some things? But he just did it on his own
when he was ready.
And now I love it. And now that I love, with nostalgia and looking back, that I had that time to just reconnect and give him that security.
Yeah. And I feel the same, I don't, this is a big thing that I've learned through my journey of the last 5 years, is just to drop the fucking timelines. They are just the biggest hit that we've been sold. You've done this amount of healing, or it happened, this thing happened 5 years ago, or you've been doing this thing for 2 years and it still hasn't really taken off. It's how about we just drop the timeline? Because whoever made I don't vibe with that timeline thing, because I put so much pressure on myself that once you actually drop the timeline, usually the thing happens.
It's so true, because we made up time. People made up time.
Yes.
The divine order of things, the universe doesn't know what time actually is. It just goes, cool, I'm just going to allow you to have the experience that you're here to do, and the things that you're here to learn, I'll present them with you. And when you're ready to actually have the things that you want, they'll be here. They're here. And it's it's so funny how it all works when you drop the idea of timelines and just go, that was a big thing the past 12 months, especially. Every time I'd be getting all in my head about something, and my intuition will come through. It's trust the timing of things. I'm what? No, I want it now. It should have been done by now. I'm Paula, remember, there is no such thing as time. It's a human construct we've made up.
Yeah, it is. Even down to the fact, you have lunch at 12 o'clock or around 12 o'clock. Why don't you just eat when you're hungry?
Yeah, exactly. Which I usually do about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's my lunch, and then I can't eat dinner till late.
Yeah.
But whatever, who cares?
we didn't have clocks. We literally would live, I feel like we'd live just completely different lives. It would just be
Can you
insane.
imagine?
Can you
Yeah, it'd
imagine?
be amazing.
Might be chaotic for a little while. I feel like people would be like, oh, but I feel like it would just be so amazing because you'll literally be tuning into like most moments of your day and just being like, what do I feel like doing? What do I need to do right now? Like, it would be pretty magical, wouldn't it? Like, let's fucking
Wouldn't it?
people everyone's houses and throw out all the clocks.
Yeah, let's do it.
Exactly. That's where your presence comes in. That's when we feel more,
Sure.
present.
Yeah. So 12 months ago now to leave Melbourne. That's where I was based. And I'd always wanted to. I never wanted to stick around in Melbourne. But again, like I wanted to always go where, like I wanted to be where it was warmer. It's too cold down this end for me. And I was always like, wanted warmer and warmer. And actually, like in my marriage, that was something I was sacrificing because my husband hated the heat and didn't want to leave the down end, and I wanted the up end and he wanted the down end. And it was like a, family, thing that I was like, okay, well, I'll sacrifice that because, I just used to be what I was. Yeah. Here we are. Now I don't have to worry about I don't have another person to consider apart from, me and my kids. We can just sort of do it. But funny that my kids don't really like the heat, but I'm like, you'll get used to it.
You do acclimatize. You do.
Yeah.
So hot. I'm like, it's great. It's fine. You'll be fine. Just jump in the river. You'll be right. We'll just get some water.
My kids were the same. My kids were exactly the same when we traveled Australia and like going up around the top end. But like I was worried because they would always be like, it's hot. I don't like the hot. My daughter, especially my daughter, she'd always complain whenever it was too hot. And we lived in Sydney. Yeah. And like Sydney's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of bearable cold and warm temperatures. It's not too extreme either way. And when we started traveling up further at the beginning of the trip, she was like, oh, it's really hot here. It's really hot here. But then after a while, like she acclimatized and she was like, I love it. Like the heat didn't bother her anymore.
Yeah. Which is going to happen for us. So I'm going to remember that, Paula. You're going to be my, that's the future for me. I'm going to take, I'm going to hold that vision. And then I decided to leave Melbourne, and it was actually it's been a journey the last 12 months because I left. So like I basically got rid of all of our belongings, which my children were not happy about either, because like my daughter's favorite dollhouse and everything went, and she was like, no. But I was like, no, it's all good. So I basically packed up my life into my car, which is just like a normal sedan. So we really didn't have much stuff. And I hit the road and I was like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm heading for the coast. And that's all I sort of had in my head at the time. And fast forward 12 months, I am not at the coast. My plans don't go to but it's a divine plan that's all working for me to get where I'm headed always. So in between, I stayed at a lot of people's houses. We basically did this big fucking holiday. That's what it felt like to me, where we just caught up with everybody, all our family over different parts of like Victoria and then the bottom of New South Wales and all the people. And we just did like all these big catch-ups, which is really cool. And then I ended up, and then we did a fair bit of camping and all these things, because that's one take was like all my camping set up. And then we did get to the coast of New South Wales, but then we ended up, a couple of things happened, and I ended up venturing back into inland of New South Wales. I still couldn't get a house anywhere because I was house hunting this whole time, right? So while we're traveling and visiting everywhere, I'm house hunting and I'm, looking up at all these places, and I'm putting in applications, like I'm contacting real estates about, applying for houses sight unseen and how I go about that and stuff like that, because I'm coming from interstate and things like that. So they were really good about it all. And I was putting in applications, signing, the waiver or whatever to say, like, I accept it how it is and stuff like that. Because at the time, I was like, I don't really care what the house is. I just want to be up at the beach where it's a bit warmer. And I wasn't getting anything. And then I don't know, I sort of think like at the time I sort of started freaking out. Like I'm like, I'm not getting anything. Like I honestly left Melbourne being like, I'm gonna get, like, of course I am. I'm gonna get a house easy. And everyone's like, no, it's not easy. And I'm like, no, I'll be fine. And I didn't. I was struggling to get this house. And then I started getting really like fear. It was coming from fear-based, you know, and lack and all those energies stuff. And I really started getting into that. And then I started worrying like, oh, have I fucking made the right decision? Like, what have I done? I had a house, now I've left, and I've fucked it all up because now we're basically homeless again. I was just so stressed, and I actually went into a really down bit for a while. Like last December was probably one of the lowest times of my life.
Yeah.
I was really struggling, and then like my car shit itself, and I was like, what else? Really, seriously? Like
it wanted to test you big time.
It's testing me. And I was like, really? I don't really feel like this is what I had envisioned, and it's not working out how I thought it would. But then I ended up buying a caravan and living on my dad's property, because my dad has like 100 acres in country New South Wales, and it's really, really beautiful. And we love going there and spending time there. So it's just like, who do I know that has land that I can, you know, plonk the caravan on? It's like, oh, duh, my dad.
Oh, how good.
I had forgotten that my dad had all this land, and, you know, okay. So again, because I'm coming from a place of just stressing, you know, I'm thinking about, oh, how can I? But I wasn't really thinking straight.
Mm-hmm.
And then anyway, so we're at my dad's, and I thought, this is so cool, you know, we're like living in a caravan off grid, and it's all good. And then the mice plague came, and our caravan was like riddled in mice. I couldn't sleep. They were like chewing all our stuff. Oh my God, it was so bad. And I was like,
oh, Amy.
Oh my God. I know how, like, it's just been such a hectic ride. And then it's like, really? Is this really your life? Yes, we can make a movie about it, guys. Like, really? I should write a script one day and get it made, because I think it would be an interesting watch. And yeah, so I was sort of like, oh, this is so gross, but you know, at the time didn't really have another option. And then a friend actually came to me that owned a unit and said like, oh, my tenants are moving out, and this was in a different area again. So I'm like, oh, settling in a new area again, you know, did you want to rent it? And I was like, yes. yes. I don't care where it is.
Give it to me.
Like, give me a house that's not covered in mice. But there was an interim in between that too. So I actually stayed in a caravan park again in another place. We found this really awesome spot on the river in a caravan park, and we were allowed to stay there for a bit, like a longer term. The lady was so lovely. Sort of did us a deal in like this little studio, because we were going to be there for a longer amount of time. So she didn't do it at the normal, you know, like weekly rate of a holiday. Yeah. We stayed there for a couple of months, and then we moved into a unit. So we've been in the unit for this long now, and it's funny because every time I'm like, yeah, we're getting settled, and you know, I've met a few people, and I'm like, time to hit the coast.
I got itchy feet again.
Now I'm really like, I haven't even been here 12 months, and I'm like, oh, the coast is calling. But it's always calling, you know. It's not something that's ever gone away. I just have known the in-betweens have been what they've meant to be, you know. And I've learned a lot of lessons in each place I've been in between in the last 12 months.
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, I've learned so much. And you know what? Like, I had this really big belief around stability and what stability actually means. I've had this really big growth and trying to learn to drop stories around the stability story for me, because so many people have said to me, you know, like, you need to stop moving around with your kids. It needs to be more stable. This, you know, it's like this perception we have about, we find stability in like a job or a location or a house or a relationship, when I've come out the other side of, you know, always trying to do all this work. And I've just sort of dropped all of it and just gone, you know what, there's actually nothing wrong with me. I'm where I'm meant to be. And I've just stepped into living my life every day instead of constant trying to fix mode. So that's basically the biggest work I've done this year, just through the learning of just like living my life. Me and the kids now, we just live our lives daily. We don't, don't see a counselor. I'm not in deep healing things all the time. I'm not even in like many group programs or coaching spaces and stuff anymore, because I'm just like, I was overdoing it, and I just stepped away from all, and I've just come to here, to me.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Stable
it.
in your own power.
Now
That's stability.
it doesn't matter if I'm in a caravan over here, in a caravan park here, if I'm in this house here, the kids and my stability is in me.
A lot of us forget about our internal architecture, that's our foundation. And we're always looking for external things to give us something, which is fine. We can expand upon things and grow and be bigger, better, stronger. But we forget about our internals and what's really in here. And when we've remembered them and the foundations, like it sounds like that's where you're at right now, is just like this is having that, being solid in your inner architecture right now. And then you can expand if you want to. And all those places that you've had in the past, like you have healing in different areas. It's given you something in different areas. But I think like for you, this is great. But for some people, they might not know when to call it, to go, I've done the healing now for now, as much as I can do. Let's go back inside.
Yeah. I love it that because I'm like you, Amy. I'm like, my energy, my spirit needs to move around. I don't like being in the same spot. I've moved a lot myself as well. And traveling Australia was like, oh my God, I felt so at home moving around. It was crazy. But the thing is like, it's like if you are moving around to externally find stability and to find your place, and to, because you're lost, you're moving around trying to find yourself, like that, you need to stand still and like really listen to like what's going on inside of yourself. But when you're so sure in who you are and how you're made up and what sets your soul on fire, if moving around amplifies that for you, it's the most beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was sort of what I was trying to get at, Paula. You put it so beautifully, is that, a lot of time previously in my life, I'd be moving around, I was searching for something else, Yeah. But you don't find that in a place, in the actual, physical place, and that's what I've found about, I've sort of got to a place now, I'm like, soul's calling, beaches calling, but I'm happy where I am.
Yeah.
I actually love this town that I'm living in, and we're loving the community. I love everything. I can't even really like say bad things about where I am. It's got nothing to do with that. Whereas before I'd be like, oh, I'm too far away from the beach. Oh, I don't like it here. Oh, this, that. It's coming from a place.
Yeah, because
you're not beautiful.
You've already found that inner knowing and that connection to yourself, rather than going, oh, I feel like I'm not connected in here, so I got to look for it out there. It's the beach that's going to connect me. It's this that's going to connect me. It's this. But when you connect within yourself first, it's like, I feel the beach calling, and we're going to be there one day. But right now, like, just trust the timing of things, and you can sit into it, even though it is uncomfortable, because you're like, oh, I want to be at the beach, but it's a different kind of energy. And it's like, I can sit here and know that it's coming, and that's okay, rather than I have to be there in order to feel like I'm okay.
Yes.
Love it.
It's so true. The external validation is a big thing. I think it's like, a really big thing. And coming back to that, when I touched on earlier, I thought I was going to be in this big space of I wanted to work in these systems, and I wanted to change things, and I wanted to like write a book about statistics on this stuff and how fucked up it all is and stuff. And then through what I've done, moving through healing and stuff and reconnecting with myself, I actually think the most powerful work in this area is to help women connect to themselves. It's because if you're connected to yourself, you know yourself, your worth, and what you deserve, and all of those things. Like you're either not going to put yourself in the situations that I was in to start with, or if you are in those, that to leave sooner.
You recognize it sooner.
because you know your boundaries, your worth, all the things, and you know what is and isn't acceptable for you in your life to, to against your values, against your morals, against all of it, without having, this whole like, I really struggle with people pleasing. I did for a long time, and that's what kept me stuck in a lot of these toxic situations or relationships. And I'm not just talking about relationship as in a partner, a physical, intimate relationship. I'm talking about all my relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really massive people pleaser. And, the most important person to please is you.
Yeah.
Like a long time to get to that place. And I think that, so now, like, moving forward, I think my most powerful work moving forward in the world and in my life is just to keep reconnecting to me, keep, pleasing me and doing my life that's aligned to me and my values and stuff, to then, it just shows other people that they can do that too,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
The chance and opportunity to just be like, you don't have to aspire to live how I live. I would never say like you should, move around and you should travel and you should just like, random things that I do, like you should quit plastic. Just random stuff. Like, I'm not going to tell you to live a certain way.
Yeah.
I'm going to like get it out of you how you want to live your way,
Oh, yes. Oh,
Brilliant.
Oh,
Brilliant.
Where can we find you, Amy? Where can we find you?
Where can you find me?
On the socials. How can people connect with you?
Like at the river or at the playground. But
I'll be at the beach. It's all good.
Yeah, maybe in 12 months I'll be at the beach. But yeah, for now I'm just like at the river or the playground, or going for a walk or something. But no, you can find me. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram at the moment, at Miss Empress of Light. So MS Empress of Light.
Mm-hmm.
My website is coming, but I change my mind all the time, and I've changed and edited like 5 million times and still haven't launched it again.
That's I change my website all the time.
Yeah,
it's always an evolution.
I'm like, I just think I'm gonna add this extra little bit before I do it, and then like I've added bits and then taken them back and then added bits, and anyway, so that is coming. But yeah, like I said, my pace that I work at is very snail slow like. And that's another thing I've really embraced that's changed my world a lot as well.
Not trying to keep up with others.
Yes.
Going at your own pace.
The whole like society thing of do, be, have to fit all these achievements in and strive. And I'm just like, meh, dropping it all and just feeling into the days and all of that, and some days my house is like an absolute pigsty and there's just shit everywhere, and I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I really should do that.
That's me. I'm like, yeah, someone should do something about this.
The thing that I've always, that I've really noticed too, the slower, it's actually really funny because the slower I've become, because that's how I am, that's my natural nature is to be slow and not rush around and try and fit everything in. The more I actually get done and fit in.
That's so cool.
Interesting. Yeah, I love it.
Honoring yourself. It's so time productive.
Yes.
When you think that you have to operate in a certain way because everybody's like, you got to do this. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I feel like I'm one of these people that like I can work at a fast pace, but I also need periods where I work really, really slowly, and I just like completely just like, and honoring that instead of when I start to slow down, go, Polly, you got to keep going. Like, what are you doing? You're going to get behind. You're going to miss out. Blah, blah.
Yeah. And then you just go around in circles.
You do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't get anything done.
Yes. But yeah, because I know like quite a few people that like operate really well like that. They just get shit done and they're fast and they smash it out and then they rest, and that's how they my phone beeped at me. And it works really well for them to do it that way, and it just, sometimes you just got to see what works best for you instead of going.
Absolutely.
Because I think the label of like lazy and, oh, she's so lazy, so many people would probably think I'm really lazy the way I live my life. as a label I had to drop as well, because I am so slow and certain things don't get done on certain days. But at the end of the day, it all, you know, or at the end of the week, if it's not the day, does work out and gets done, you know, it falls into place.
Yeah.
There's never a, you know, there's never a meal that my kids go without, or, you know, there's always a dish somewhere to eat off.
Exactly.
And we end up, even if I only do the dishes that are needed for that dinner and then do the rest the next day, like it just, I just go with the flow. I'm so flowy.
We all create our own version of our life, and that's the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah. So one of the big sort of things that come up for me, you know, because people, it's really hard, you know, when people ask you for advice around trauma and this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for anyone. I find it really hard because I'm like, I just did things and I just, you know, learned to know. And it's hard. You can't really teach. I don't think you can really teach people how to get from like A to B with this trauma stuff, because it is so it's so complex and it's so different for so many people and their personalities. Like I have naturally a really, really strong, resilient personality. I am very headstrong. I'm very stubborn, and I'm very driven by what I want in life. I'm pretty solid. Like, you know, I'm like a pretty solid person just naturally. So what works for me isn't going to work for some necessarily another type of personality, you know? So I just want to like give the message just a huge amount of self-compassion and love is so needed through this journey. Like the guilt and the resentment and all of that stuff that you have, or the grief for your life that you thought was going to be, or the feelings of feeling like it should be a certain way, like expectations, all of that jazz. It just, you know, it's just not needed. It's really like, it's easier said, and again, it's easier said than done. And I can't really teach this stuff. It's a process that you go through yourself, and the learning that you evolve through yourself to let all that just fall behind to get to a point where you sort of, I literally physically like see a line being drawn in the sand, like a massive as line. And this is sort of like, I'm a very visual person. So visually, I just like have this line, massive line drawn in the sand. I sort of look back at my life and all the decisions I made, because I was a part of a lot of the decisions in toxicity as well. Like I have massive self-responsibility for some situations not going very well because of me as well. It's not always been like, other people bad. I had to have a massive look at myself and how I was contributing to these toxic relationships in my life, because I did. But drawing that line in the sand, looking back and going like, well, what were the decisions that I was making and how I was living that made me have that life? Stop here on this line. What the fuck do you actually want? And not like wishy-washy, like, oh, tell me what you want. Oh, I want to be happy, Emma. Like, what do you actually fucking want? And do you know what? You're going to have to go really deep and to look into that to know, like, to be able to know what actual actions you need to take to get to the other side of the sand to actually start creating that life.
Yeah.
You can't lie to yourself either about it. You've got to be so fucking brutally honest. And that's where I think that's the line in the sand where it gets really hard, because being honest with yourself, like I said, for me, a lot of honesty came in like, okay, well, I've got to stop doing this, this, and this as well. Like, you know?
Yeah. The self-reflection, I think, is beautiful. And I love that you're on this journey and you've got to this point in time, and you on your socials, I think, absolutely follow Miss Empress Light, because even if you haven't gone through this, but you might have a sister that is, like following, and you just don't know what to do, but follow this journey of, and like just let go that there is a strategy that's from A to B, but be in the space with someone like Amy and be yourself, where we can just be inspiring others to actually break free, to actually do this healing, to actually go through and go, you know what, trauma doesn't have to stay. It's something that we live with. We just live with it a different way as time goes on, as learnings go on. So I think this is, absolutely, you do inspire people. I know that you, from myself, I know that when I was going through it at the time, that it was just like, if just me breaking free was enough for people to go, oh, thank goodness. But I didn't have to have all the answers, but it was enough to motivate. So you going even that extra step and further and sharing all this knowledge is going to save lives. Pretty much.
It is.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you
This is
so much
powerful.
Absolutely. It's been a beautiful conversation, and thank you so much for sharing your rawness and your vulnerability.
Yeah, that's one thing that, you know, because I'm just always banging on random stuff, and I feel like, you know, I'm not really, you know, making a difference or doing anything, and then I randomly see someone post something about something, and I'll be like, oh my God, that's amazing. And, you know, I've had people like message me, you know, DM me and stuff and say, like, you know, you sharing your story gave me the courage to share my story, or you sharing parts. And these people, like, they never commented on my stuff, like, I didn't even think they were watching or listening to what I was saying, you know. But there have been people through the last couple of years that I know that I'm impacting, even when I don't know I'm impacting them. Does that make sense? Like,
this is the thing, and that's a beautiful way to be as well, because it means that we don't push our agendas onto people. It's just that we're naturally helping, you know. What a conversation. Thank you so much. What a legend. You're a legend. So good.
Wow. Thank you.
Thanks.
No worries. My first ever podcast interview.
Yeah.